Welcome back, you guys. I'm QnA. This is Blue Lions TV, and today I'm bringing you guys the pre-build up. I just completely ruined my intro already. I'm bringing you guys the pre-match show to today's big game against Aston Villa. So I hope you guys are excited. Finally, the EPL starts for us. I've been waiting for this moment for such a long time, and I really feel quite positive that today we're going to get a pretty decent result. But anyway, you guys, great to see all you guys here. Of course, before I start the show, I want to remind all of you very quickly that there are some massive sales on the club's official mega store. It's your opportunity to now get the home kit, away kit, third kit. Big discount sales, you guys. I'm telling you, check it out for yourselves. Of course, as you guys can see on screen, use my discount code NINI10 when you click on my affiliate in the description. Hope you guys enjoy. And now I'm going to introduce you to today's guest. How you doing, Daniel? 100%, man. You might have to say that one more time because the audio was kind of messing up then.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, your introduction completely ruined that. You got another opportunity now.
Sorry, man. No, I was just saying that my nerves for Chelsea have they haven't been there obviously for 3 months now, and I'm starting to feel the pre-game nerves that I usually do. So it's going to be interesting this afternoon.
Are you feeling optimistic about today?
Yeah, I think the sense of excitement, I think maybe that's a sense of just waiting for Chelsea to be back, that we have been waiting for so long. I think the arrival of Timo Werner, I think, has maybe lifted the spirits of the club. There is a sense of looking forward now to next season. And there is a sense that Chelsea have got a really good opportunity to get Champions League football, which I think would be a real end, a successful end to Frank Lampard's first season. So I think you have to be optimistic, especially the way we ended in March, even though it was a long time ago.
Yeah, we have a pretty good record against Aston Villa too, and the fact that United didn't beat Spurs gives us a big opportunity to get that points gap now. And I think with the upcoming game against Man City on Thursday, we need to get this win against Aston Villa. And I understand that, of course, the guys aren't match fit or match sharp. They haven't been playing for a long time. So if we didn't get that result, there could be excuses. But for me, they still be quite small excuses. Today is an opportunity to get the 3 points and secure our spot for the UCL for next season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's I think my hope is just generally, I hope energy is probably the word I'd use, and pace, because I think Lampard's Chelsea this season has operated best with pace, with energy, with great movement, and when we don't have that, we tend to really struggle. So I hope, with the players returning from injury, some big players returning from injury, and players that Frank hasn't been able to use yet, like Loftus-Cheek, could add that energy and could really add something that Chelsea need for the remaining 10 games to get over the line. So I think I agree generally. Of course, you have to take into account match fitness, not playing for so long, but I feel pretty optimistic that if the pace is there, I think we'll do well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think now it takes us forward to our predicted lineups for the game today. As you guys can see on screen, I have to gas the visuals up a tiny bit, you know how I do it. But anyway, as you can see, my team is on the left. Nope, wrong positions, but that was really annoying. As you guys can see, my team is on the left, Daniel's is on the right. Daniel, talk me through your team. So you think that you might see Marcus Alonso today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of going up. That back four is the same back four we finished with in March. Yeah. So I've pretty much just stuck with that. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I believe 99% of us are going to get this team prediction wrong. It's so difficult knowing the fitness of players, what Frank's been thinking in these warm-up games, what he's actually been playing most. I mean, we haven't had it's almost like the start to a new season, and usually we get to see a load of pre-season friendlies, so you get to sort of see the team, start to think, okay, that player's playing a lot. We haven't been able to see that. We haven't been able to see the highlights of, say, the QPR game. So we really don't know the shape yet. But I think Alonso played well. And I think as well, Dave, another one that I know will annoy some people, just because Jorginho suspended that leadership element. I think Frank loves to have one of Jorginho, his vice captain, or his main captain, Dave, in the team. And that's why I've put him at right back. And of course, with the level of games we have, the rapid rate of games, I fully expect Reece James will be back in the team soon.
Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling ambitious. I have a feeling that maybe Reece isn't going to play today, but I'm still hoping to see like some type of involvement today, because I think that he is a really important player for the system of what Lampard wants us to do and how he wants us to play too. So I'm hoping to see him play for a bit. But one player I feel really positive that is definitely playing today is going to be Ruben. Now I'm hearing that he's going to be playing on the left wing. We're going to see the announcement very soon. And I'm just really excited to finally see Ruben playing for us again. How are you feeling about that, man?
You know from our discussion on my channel how much I rate Ruben, how long it's felt with him being away, and it's amazing to see him back. The reason I didn't put him in a team was just out of caution, because of course fitness, and it's over 13 months, it's over a year since he last played a game. On the left wing is very interesting. I wonder if Frank is starting to do that because he's concerned about the futures of Willian and Pedro and not having them for the long term. But we have seen Ruben play there before. I remember a game against Bournemouth. I think he started on the right maybe in the League Cup, and he was absolutely sensational there. It's just great to see him get minutes, even if it's like 50, 60 minutes today. I think it's a positive. He can get through it without any injuries, any knocks. He can move on. I think it's very exciting. For me, at his best, he can be Chelsea's best player. I have no doubts about that. Just look at the impact he had last season, and I think he's such a unique raw talent that Chelsea don't have, and I think he could add goals. And it's just it's going to be amazing. But I just hope fans are patient with Ruben. If he doesn't have the best game today, don't react harshly on social media. Just understand this is a guy who hasn't played in 13 months. So that's sort of my hope for the game.
Yeah, I mean, 13 months, like a ridiculous amount of time away. He's been so unfortunate with injuries, but from the sounds of things, the player's fully fit right now. He's played a lot of games during the friendly games, playing massive parts too, scoring 2 goals against QPR. And his fitness, from what I've been hearing too, has been really good. Like, the club have been really impressed by his attitude, his application, and just how he's worked really diligently to get back into full fitness. Because there was a time where he had no calf muscle on his left or right leg, and for him to just get all of that back in the span of 13 months, I mean that is really good dedication. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring. I think we've been missing out on his his style of play, his drive from midfield, and that goal threat. I think maybe our midfield hasn't got enough goals, and I think that's one thing that Lampard's been constantly complaining about at times. You're not taking enough shots, there's not enough attacking involvement from the midfields. I need to see more. So I think Ruben is definitely gonna bring that from our midfield. But I find his role playing on the left wing is going to be, that's going to be a really interesting thing. I think maybe he's played one game there, maybe under Conte all those years back. I'm curious to know if he's going to play a traditional winger, or more like a cam that is receiving the ball in the half space, not a false winger. I'm sounding a bit too smarmy, but playing in that half space role, receiving, I could see it working. And if Mason's playing, maybe there's that possibility for that interchange. So what's your thoughts on Ruben starting on the left wing?
I think sometimes we've seen this with Mason Mount this year. Frank loves flexibility. He loves to move, especially his attacking players around. And I think he wants all of those sort of attacking players to be able to play in a variety of positions. And I think maybe it's an element of maybe protection for Ruben, in a sense of being quite raw. If he loses the ball today, having that protection behind him of maybe an N'Golo Kante or a Kovacic to sweep up, I think that may be an element of it as well. I very much agree. I think that you'll see more of an inside forward than a natural winger, because that's really not Ruben's game. It's for me, what Ruben's so good at is getting the ball from deep at a standing position and driving forward and linking with play. So instead of last season linking with Eden Hazard, who was on the left, you could see him maybe linking today with Mason Mount or Kovacic or Kante, whoever is in the centre of midfield, and getting those 1-2s and then driving into the box and creating trouble for Aston Villa. I'd rather see him in central midfield, but as I said, I think these are very unique circumstances, and I think Frank is... You've got to trust Frankie. He's trying a variety of things at the moment, and none of us can sit here and say what the best 11, best formation is. We've seen a variety of it this year. We've seen a 3-4-3, and sometimes Mason Mount's been deployed as an inside forward, getting close to Tammy Abraham. How will Ruben say if Tammy starts or Giroud starts? how will Ruben work with the forward? I think that's going to be very interesting as well.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I'm thinking about too is, could this be like a permanent position that Ruben's going to play in throughout the remainder of this restart, or is this like a temporary thing? Because Hudson-Odoi is not fully fit. Pedro won't have any involvement, I'm assuming. Maybe Willian will be forced to start. Pulisic, maybe Lampard doesn't think he's, fully fit, like similar to Ruben. Who knows?
We have the team. The team.
Oh, that is let me get that ready. I think that's the perfect time to get that ready. What's the team saying?
The team is Kepa in goal, a back four of Dave, Rudiger, Christensen, and Marcos Alonso.
Yeah.
The midfield three is N'Golo Kante, Mateo Kovacic, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek as a central midfielder, not a left winger.
Yeah.
And Mason Mount looks like he'll be playing as one of the wingers, Willian as well as the other winger. And up top is going to be Olivier Giroud. Another interesting thing on the bench, of course, more subs now. Caballero, James, Emerson, Zuma, Billy Gilmore, Ross Barkley, Pedro's in the squad, Christian Pulisic, and Tammy Abraham. So those are your subs as well. Nice. Very interesting, because of course we were just talking about Ruben playing on the left, and it looks like he's going to be, well, him and Mount could swap, couldn't they, as well? Think about that theoretically. Like, you haven't got two natural wingers there, so potentially Ruben could still start on the left, couldn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it sounds like a very interesting lineup. You guys, I'm just getting it on screen for you real quick. 1 second. Yeah, I think you guys should be able to see once I get rid of this screen. Technology, man.
It is surprising, though. The biggest surprise for me in that team is Andreas Christensen. I did not expect Christensen to start. No Kurt Zuma in the starting 11. I think Zuma's been quite underrated this season. I think he's been one of our best defenders. But like Rudiger and Christensen, there was a period where I thought actually that, I think last season I remember thinking that's the long-term centre-back pairing. What's going to be really interesting, I don't know how you feel about this, it's going to be really interesting to me how Lampard deals with the back two, because I think for me and a back four, I think he has to settle, especially on a back two now, because he's been chopping and changing it all season, and I don't think it's helped the team. I don't think it's helped Kepa, and I'm not, I think Zuma as well, and Rudiger, I thought that was a decent back two before. It's just I hope Frank picks a consistent one, because I think that's been a problem all season, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Finally, you guys, after so much effort, I've got the lineup finally on screen, as you can see here. Yeah, man, I fully agree. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see this lineup. The interchange possibilities between Mount and Loftus, I can see that being a thing. Kante, it seems like he's fully fit. That was one thing Lampard was speaking about too. And that defense is, as you're saying, Kurt Zuma, I think it's been quite unfortunate how he's lost his place in the team. I haven't really remembered like too many bad performances or bad mistakes. And if anything, he's the one that's making those like last ditch tackles or being the one to like save the situation. But I guess Lampard prefers the passing ability of Rudiger and Christensen. I think they move the ball out really quickly from the back. That's one thing that maybe, Zuma and Tomori, they pass sideways a bit too often and not forward. So I can understand this team and lineup. And Willian, maybe this could confirm that Willian might be signing this contract extension, because he hasn't found a club just yet. Maybe he has to advertise himself a bit to really get the best possible club once he leaves.
It's tough. It's tough to know with both him and Ped how they're going to deal, how Lampard's going to deal. Because really, it was interesting to me. I don't know if obviously seeing the Zoom press conference on Friday, Ron Reporter asked Frank Lampard about Ryan Fraser, but he didn't bring up Pedro in the question. And of course, Frank was sort of generally talking about this situation of contract extensions. Yeah. Willian's obviously starting the game, so you expect him to play a substantial amount of minutes today. Yeah. Will Pedro come off the bench? That's the interesting. Will he be one of those 5 subs? I'm not entirely sure. If I look at those 5 subs, I could see Reece James being one of those 5 subs, depending on how to Reece James could be deployed, and if Frank wants to go to a 3 at the back potentially, he could bring on Reece James from the bench. Billy Gilmore, I think also. It's tough on Ross Barkley. I mean, I feel so sorry for Ross Barkley, because he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, apart from Billy Gilmore, I think he was probably the man of the match last time. But it's because this break has stalled so much momentum for so many players. But I'm intrigued to see as well N'Golo Kante. because as many people have been talking about him playing potentially a deeper role. Is that going to be a 2 in midfield? Is in like a 4-2-3-1, which we hear a lot Frank wants to play? Would that be Kante and Kovacic, or would that be a midfield 3, as we were just talking about? Because I was just thinking when you're talking, it could be a 4-2-3-1 and Loftus-Cheek, Mount and Willian almost interchanging positions. Some can be number 10. That could be the
looks
formation.
like that could be a possibility too. So I think Giroud's involvement in this team is quite interesting, because I'm assuming Lampard wants more of like a focal point in the middle, like a target man that's gonna hold the play and hold off the opposition defense, allowing the late runs of Ruben, Mount, etc. and Willian to get forward in the box. So maybe this is like giving us a slight indication in regards to like how we're going to play and what the game plan is going to be today. So I feel like there's definitely goals in this team. Aston Villa, they might have that slight advantage because they played a game already. That match sharpness might be a thing. We're naturally assuming they're going to like defend really deep too. But I do think there's enough threat from the team today. I'm really interested to see how Mount and Ruben are going to link up too. But I think maybe the only surprising factor for me was seeing Marcos Alonso in the team. Like, I wasn't really expecting that. This is just like summing up. Maybe not. I don't want to say Emerson's decline. Maybe that's a bit strong of a word. But he's worked under 3 different managers now, and he still hasn't cemented this place as like the number 1. So I was thinking cynically, could it imply that maybe we want to like keep Alonso's market value kind of high, so let's give him opportunities? I can't imagine that would be the case. But yeah, I think Alonso's involvement is going to be interesting, because it is playing in a back 4, and at times he has really struggled in that role. So our fullback threat is going to be, I'm not too sure about the attacking threat we're going to get from them. Maybe this is why we are seeing Ruben in a more like attacking, giving more license to attack, because Lampard knows that you're not going to get too much threat from Azpilicueta or Alonso.
Yeah, I think the thing is for me with Alonso is, we know it's so difficult at the moment because we're talking generally mostly about a new left back, whether that's Ben Chilwell or Tagliafico. So it's very difficult after this 3-month break to come back and go, oh, actually, we've still got these 2 left backs, and potentially one of them could still be here next season. I think it's weird for them, because Emerson, I feel that goal against Arsenal, the Bellerin equaliser, I think, from what I've heard from, say, the likes of Simon Johnson, I think that was a massive moment for him. And really, Emerson hasn't really started since then, I don't think. It's basically been Marcos Alonso. So it's tough to know. I think that it's a problem that I think Chelsea are going to struggle with to the end of the season. It's whether, as you've said, other players can really help maybe the width. I think it's a problem we've had, and it's a problem we're not going to fix until we get a new player in, I think, for me.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe one player yesterday got the first goal for Leicester City, Ben Chilwell. Is he a player that you think would be a pretty impressive signing, and it's the right type of signing to make?
I think I saw the reaction to his performance. I know there was a lot of people talking down his performance and quality yesterday. It was a brilliant finish. It really was. I think, it's Lampard's first choice. Ashley Cole speaking very highly of Ben Chilwell. It could cost a lot. I remember us having this conversation as well about Tagliafico or Ben Chilwell or Alex Telles. I think it's about backing Frank Lampard. If that's his first choice, I don't see what's the problem with going in for that first choice. I feel he's obviously had some difficult months, Chilwell, but he does know the Premier League.
Yeah.
He does have a young age in him, so he could develop, he can get better over time, which maybe a Tagliafico and Telles can't. In terms of value, I mean, it's almost like a Marcos Alonso situation where in 2 to 3 years you may have to sell this player once again, and Chelsea may be thinking now's the time to proper rebuild, not just put short-term fixes in there. Let's really start to rebuild this team, the shape and spine of this team. I'm not as down on Chilwell as other people are. I think he'd be an excellent addition, to be honest. I think he really would, and I think he'd suit what Lampard's trying to do.
Yeah, he is a good player. Like, I do think another unspoken aspect of the player's game is that, right now we can improve players. We have that environment to get the best out of them. We've seen this season the improvement in players like Kovacic and Tammy and all these other guys as well. So Ben is signed. He's also signed for his potential. But at the same time, just when his price is so high, at over like 40-50 million, and there's like maybe cheaper alternatives in the market for like less than half the price. You know, for me, my personal opinion is going to be Tagliafico. I think this guy's an incredible left back, runs both halves, intensity, proactive. For me, he'd be the perfect fullback to sign, and it feels like it would be like a no-brainer. That's a very easy, simple signing to make. So I'm assuming that we're gonna like try our best to see what we can do with Leicester City, but still, even if they agreed a fee like, I don't know, 40 million, 45 million, that's still double the price, and I don't think Ben's worth double the price in today's market.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that Tagliafico for me is a bit of a no-brainer, and I think maybe other signings may come into this. I mean, if Chelsea are going to seriously chase Kai Havertz, you got to think that, I mean, as much as there's talk of FFP being relaxed and Chelsea going big this summer, I just can't see one summer window where we sign Werner, Chilwell and Havertz. I just can't see all of it happening unless some big players leave, unless N'Golo Kante leaves or Chelsea get a massive fee for Jorginho from Juventus. I think it's going to be difficult to see. I think it's either Chilwell comes in for a big price and we don't go after Havertz, or vice versa. And we get Tagliafico for a brilliant price, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think we have to wait to see who we can sell. Of course, a few players will most likely leave. You know, could a Jorginho go? Could a Barkley go? Could an Alonso go? Once we sell these guys, we're bringing in even more money and we can reinvest those funds. So I do feel like, you know, the club are really taking this opportunity right now where we have the advantage compared to all our rivals. You know, we can spend, you know, that transfer ban really works in our favour stupendously well. It's really helped us get a year's head start in that sense, because now I get the impression like we're spending like the equivalent of 2 transfer windows, like this season, next season and the season after that. And I think right now, because we have the ability to spend, you know, we feel confident in our position. You know, we've had basically a year's savings, and to wait for an opportunity, a moment like this, I do feel like we are going to look to spend big and really mount a title challenge for next season. That's the impression I'm getting right now.
I'm not so sure about a title challenge next season. I'm still a little bit doubtful.
If we get our targets, like let's say we sign Kai, pull that off and get a top left back, the complexion of the team is entirely different, and I think you can start to think about that.
I think it will. I think there are, even with those players, I still feel that Chelsea, I think for me it's centre-back and goalkeeper. I think those are the 2 areas that we're not really hearing big things about in terms of a target yet, are we? Of course, this is before the transfer windows actually happened, and maybe Chelsea are really swift and get those other deals done. I don't know. I mean, Frank could crack the code, and Rudiger and Christensen could be the back 2, and they could perform amazingly well. And that is our back 2, and we're just going to move forward with it, and fine, that works. And you got Reece James, Ben Chilwell maybe on the other side, or Tagliafico. I think putting the pressure on Lampard to win the title next season, I think would maybe be too soon. As you've said, if it's an absolutely incredible transfer window and it breaks all expectations and we get players like Havertz, maybe. We saw under Conte what happened, but I'm not entirely. I think Liverpool and Man City, they are so strong, and they've worked so hard to build their team. You know, Man City this year, I think will have season, will have motivation to come back again. In the league. If they're not going to be in the Champions League, that would be extra time for them.
Yeah, but what about Liverpool? Because I think as we were starting to see near the as the season was, but before the suspension, basically Liverpool were looking a bit weaker. You know, they were starting to concede more, starting to lose games, and with Klopp's system historically, it seems like there's like a 4-year lifespan. Liverpool will be approaching a new season where they can't spend, and I think what Klopp needs to do right now, after if they do win the league, which is looking very likely, to keep that momentum going, he'll have to maybe make some big changes in the team, and it looks like they don't even have the finances to spend. So I'm curious to see how Liverpool are going to do moving forward. I'm curious to see how the restart's going to shape up and how it's going to go. But right now, I think because a lot of the players in the team understand Lampard's system, so there's like a head start in those regards. We're clearly signing players that suit a certain style of football that Lampard wants to see: speed, attacking football, goals, chances after chances created. that's what he's trying to build for the team. And I just think that next season, if we can just get those like pinnacle players just to complete the first 11, just make the squad even stronger. If we get the Ben Ramas, if we get the Havertz's, a left back, and who knows at centre back. I think centre back will really depend on who we can sell and who will get the most money, basically. So I really do feel like if we get those targets, things are looking completely different.
I think there is a sense this season, as you point out in your videos, how close we've been at times to being much better in terms of games, the chance creation we've had, that clinical edge that Frank Lampard has called for all season. There is a sense that during those games against, if Chelsea can turn the games that have been defeats this season or draws into wins next season against what you'd consider inferior opposition, Chelsea are going to be much more competitive. That's pretty simple. And to be fair, in the big games, we really haven't been embarrassed this season. We've competed very well against Man City and Liverpool, even if they have been close defeats. And hopefully that remains for the remaining 2 games against Man City and Liverpool this season. Just giving them a good competition and really going out there and playing well. And I think that's what Chelsea has done in a lot of circumstances. I think it's just, for me, I think there's a lot needs to happen. I think those, as you've mentioned with Liverpool, I think the downfall of a team, I think, is always sooner than people expect. They always say, this team's City, we're going to dominate the league for 5 years, and that hasn't happened. It was 2 years, and this year they've struggled. I think maybe similar with Liverpool, the energy that Klopp demands out of that team, and if we're not going to have a big break between the end of this season and the start of next, that could really impact their players. And I just wonder, maybe some players, especially in that midfield, not really being upgraded could hurt them. If teams start to figure out a bit more how to defend against their front three and start to really isolate their midfield a little bit more, which I think we did brilliantly when we played them in the FA Cup. All right, it wasn't their first team, but I think we really did that quite well. I think maybe you could see them lose a few more games next season, which could help Chelsea get a little bit closer.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. I do feel like this is something we could be seeing for next season. So it's just really further emphasizing how, maybe next season is the season to really be ambitious and really go for it, because we have nothing to lose. The advantage is that we have a very young first 11 and a young squad where, let's say they get really close next season. Third season, you're going to feel confident that, okay, boom, literally maybe like a new keeper or defender for that season, and you're ready, and you have a team that's ready for domestically and for European football too. So you know what though, man, it just feels kind of like surreal at times, because I'm sure you're like me, like we've had these thoughts for such a long time about the direction the club needs to take, the direction that it needs to go down. We need to start thinking long term, prioritizing short term success, forgetting about long term gain. It's been costing us for far too long, and it just felt like we always had to turn to the academy, because this was going to be like our salvation in that sense. We have a world-class academy that's been winning things, domestically and internationally for a very long time now, and of course we've produced quality that is good enough to fill positions in this team, especially when we've signed guys like Zappacosta's and so many duds. So the fact that they got the right management, they got the right manager, because I think that's been the biggest issue we've had for such a long time. We keep hiring managers that don't really suit the club's needs, don't really suit the club's ambitions or philosophy. They have their own short-term priorities. They want to win for themselves. We saw it with Mourinho, Conte, and even Sarri too. So, it's just really good to see that a theory you could say that we've all had for such a long time is actually looking like it's going to be a very successful formula, and that we were actually onto something.
I fully agree. I think the most exciting thing for me about that Timo Werner deal was how involved Petr Cech was. And there's a sense to me that there's clued up thinking now of Chelsea. I don't know if you saw an article a few months back now, is at the start of lockdown, about Chelsea's transfer system, about how it works, who works within the scouting system.
It
was an incredible article. I did it in a video on it, and it was brilliant, and it really gave you insight into that clued up thinking now. And I think, as I completely agree with the short-term sort of thinking of that being our downfall, and really I think running into the end of it under Sarri. I mean, I just think that for Chelsea to progress, you've got to have a longer term plan, and it's a style of football. I think for me, it's a route from the academy to the first team that's actually realistic, rather than it just being, that is an intention, but they're almost working separately to one another. The academy really is about making money for the club, first team players.
Yeah.
So I think the Lampard, you've got a manager there that is being back now, which is serious, and Chelsea are making big moves. So I think it's going to be very interesting to me what happens, whether we're going to be as good as a title champion next season. I'm not sure. I just hope that Lampard is given the patience and time, and I really hope we play some very exciting football, because I think Frank Lampard has the players to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think now is the perfect time to introduce the second guest today. I don't know what he's doing in the background right now, but hey Joe, how you doing, man? You good? You know what? I'm gonna call him back in a second, you guys. Apologies for that. 1 second. But yeah, Danny, obviously just getting back to how you're feeling about today's game now. I feel like we're gonna get this win. I feel we're gonna pick up the 3 points. I feel really confident about that. I think Ruben's gonna get on the score sheet. I think it's gonna be like a big day. Maybe I'm getting too hyped up. I'm gassing myself up because we haven't seen our club play for such a long time. But I feel like we're getting these 3 points. I'm predicting like 3-1.
It's tough because I've been watching nearly all the games, and the pace of them, it takes a while to get going. That may be different because, of course, Aston Villa have already played a game in this environment. So that may impact the pace of the game. I would like to go for a clean sheet, because I think clean sheets have been such a rarity this season. They're collector's items. And if we can get basically 3 in a row, but I feel there is a sense now, just win any means necessary today. Just get off on a good front and get off on a good foot, and just feel confident going into that Man City game. And it gives us a great cushion. I believe we can go 11 points clear of Arsenal, 9 clear of Spurs, and 5 clear of Man United, especially going into that City game. That's a nice little cushion. So in terms of goal scorers, I'd probably back Olivier Giroud, because I think he'll probably be feeling confident. Ruben, I'd love to see Ruben score. It'd be a dream come true. I just don't want to put that much pressure on him, because I think he could go out there and he's struggling a little bit with fitness or with the match sharpness or whatever. So I'd probably go with Giroud. And I think actually a goal scorer, I will say, off the bench, Christian Pulisic. I think he could be massive in the second half.
His introduction is going to be really exciting too. We'll touch upon that on that in like a literal second. Right now, I introduce the second guest for today. Let me just get it up right now. Hey Joe, can you hear me? Hello?
Hey Nini, yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Perfect. Yeah. Nice one, man. How you doing? Introduce yourself
really
to
good,
the stream.
Really, really good. Yeah, hey guys, it's Joe Tweet here. I'm very excited for the game today, particularly after seeing the lineup. I think Nini knows how much I love Ruben Loftus-Cheek, so I'm super delighted for him to get a start. Be really interesting to see how he does as well, particularly if he's playing left wing. I think he's looked pretty decent there in the past, so I'm excited.
Nice. Well, we were literally speaking about Christian Pulisic, and Daniel feels like he sees a goal in the second half from Christian. What are you thinking about the players' involvement for the game? How do you feel he's going to cope? It's been a while since Pulisic has played. There's so many injuries this season. I do think that there is going to be like less pressure put on the player now that there's no fans in the stadium. So I think that we are going to see a pretty positive Pulisic performance. But Joe, how are you feeling about things?
I think it's in terms of sort of reintroducing him to the team. I mean, kind of bringing him on, I suppose. Post-COVID, teams aren't as fit as what they probably were a couple of months ago. I think if you're looking at sort of an impact sub, I think he's great. Certainly if you've got Willian starting up front, or even Ruben potentially. Maybe Ruben only lasts an hour, 60, 65 minutes or something like that. Bringing on someone with Pulisic's directness, his sort of pace and general play, I think it's there to sort of hit teams on the counter, really. Looking at Villa's kind of defence and sort of their kind of record, I think Pulisic he's got a really, really good chance, particularly if he comes on sort of mid to late second half. But yeah, I mean, this kind of new 5 substitution rule that we have, I think it's going to benefit us massively, not just sort of Pulisic as well. We have a lot of talent, a lot of young players, a lot of fresh legs to come on the bench. And I think that in particular is going to be one of our sort of maybe trump cards that we have over sort of other teams is just that kind of depth and sort of the kind of fresh young legs that we have really to bring on. But yeah, I mean, I'd be sort of really happy for him to come on and contribute. I think his injury came at a bad time, and obviously there was kind of lots of back and forth whether he was actually fit or unfit. So it'd be nice for him to sort of come back into the fray, particularly with Pedro and Willian looking very likely to leave the club in the near future. Could be sort of in the next couple of days. He's going to be a very important player for us as we look to sort of close in on the top four and ensure European football next season.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we know that Ruben's in the team too. His left wing role, do you feel like this could be a permanent position that we see Ruben playing in, or is this like a temporary thing?
I think it's a little bit temporary. I think Lampard is looking to kind of, I suppose, plan a little bit for the future for life without Pedro and Willian. So if they are sort of 30th of June, their contracts expire. If they are therefore not playing for the rest of the season, he needs some sort of options out there. I think the interesting thing will be particularly if Mason Mount is playing as a left central midfielder. Obviously, both are capable of playing in centre mid, both are capable of playing out wide. I think what you'll see, and I think the interesting thing for me will be to see, is just how often they interchange in those positions. I think that's probably kind of what I see happening is Ruben will start probably as kind of like a left inside forward, but he'll drop deeper. He'll drop into that kind of left central mid channel. Mason Mount obviously very good at making sort of those runs beyond. We know that he likes to get in the box and he likes to sort of come in from those areas from the left hand side as well. So I expect it to be something that I think Ruben starts there, but given his sort of game and how we see him play, particularly when he can pick the ball up slightly deeper and drive forward with it, same with Mason Mount really. I think that you'll see a lot of interchange. And I'm actually really excited to see them two kind of play together in the first team. I think that's going to be a really, really nice balance. But I don't know if it's going to be like a permanent thing in the future. But I think for now, having him kind of on the pitch, I think this is a way of Lampard of getting him involved and maybe not putting as much sort of defensive burden on him. He doesn't want him kind of completely burning out first sort of real football he's played in a very long time. So yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. Big things from Ruben today. That Cobham connection with Mount and Loftus-Cheek, that's going to be really fun to see too. But I think now we should speak about the game now. Aston Villa, do you feel confident about about our chances against them?
Oof, tough question. I think before I saw all of the games that have taken place, I would have said yes. But this feels like such a strange kind of season. It's almost like the beginning of the season again, when you don't really know what's going to happen over the first couple of games. I would take the most boring 1-0 win just to sort of set us up for the rest of the season. Obviously, we've got City next, and I think that is going to be the real sort of test of where we are, both in terms of fitness, but also really, I suppose, kind of where we are as a team as well. But I mean, I'm expecting us to play well. All of the sort of the noise around the club, particularly in these kind of what they're like pre or post-COVID friendlies, whatever we're actually describing them as, has been pretty positive. I know we beat QPR 7-1 and it's QPR, etc., but it's nice to see certainly the fitness levels, the tempo, the way that we played. And I think the important thing, and I think we've spoken about this before, Nini, was that I think Chelsea's players have come back incredibly fit from their kind of the sort of the break they've been on. You can't say that I think of every single club. I think that the players have taken it seriously. They've taken the individual conditioning routine seriously. You can see that by Ruben looks in incredible shape. Tammy looks like he's put on about half a stone of muscle.
Now. Really
big.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that looking at the condition of the players, particularly in training, looking how fit, looking how sharp they've been, that we turn up today very professional. Obviously Villa have already played, so they're kind of used to this sort of new atmosphere. It might take a little while for us to settle down, no fans, all that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping that ultimately, as I said, I'd take a 1-0 boring win. But I'd be really nice to see us actually put in a bit of a performance today, particularly with Ruben starting. It'd be nice for him to sort of come on and remind fans exactly what we've missed for this season.
Yeah, exactly, man. Daniel, how are you feeling?
It's as Joe really pointed out, it's tough to really know what's going to happen. The intensity of the game, the pace of it, how good Villa are going to be, because of course they're fighting for survival. And I think with Brighton winning yesterday, with other results as well, I think there's going to be that desperation now to of course survive in the Premier League. I think the fact they've almost got that first game out of the way maybe has focused their minds a bit. I'm always worried about Jack Grealish. He's probably one of the biggest players I admire outside of Chelsea. If there's one player, I made a video recently on my channel, and Jack Grealish was one of those players I said I'd love to see Chelsea sign. I just love watching him play football, and he was brilliant against us in December. I thought he ran Villa's game, and he does that a lot. So Kante has to be on him. Chelsea have to the problem was, I don't know if you remember the goal that Villa scored against us in December. It was so passive. We just allowed Grealish to play with the ball a little bit from our goal
side, right?
and just thread a ball out wide. And then eventually that cross led to the equaliser. And I think Christensen was playing that night. I don't think Rudiger was. I don't think he was back yet. But Christensen got to be alert, and I think that's for me the key. I think Frank Lampard talks in quite, it's not trying to sound like offensive or dismissive to him, he talks in quite simplistic terms when he talks about his team. He talks like, he uses words like fight, and he used the word, I think he used the phrase full throttle on Friday in his press conference. And I think what that means is, as Joe was alluding to with the fitness, was intensity. Chelsea want to go out there and they want to get on the front foot, put those nerves behind us, get out in front, maybe score a couple goals and feel confident again. I'd agree. I'd love a 1-0. But unfortunately, this team I don't really trust to keep clean sheets, especially at set pieces, which Villa are quite decent at. So that's something to think about as well. I think he wants to see that intensity, and hopefully Chelsea, unlike a lot of teams so far, don't come out of the blocks sluggish. We look quite good. So and if we do, I think that's going to be a telling sign that Chelsea can do okay today.
You guys, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic than a 1-0 win. We've got N'Golo Kante at our midfield. He is going to play a massive part in securing that midfield, stopping counter-attacks. And I think the stats prove that whenever he's played, our defensive efforts have been much better. We've conceded less goals, etc., etc. So Kante will have a very decisive part in this team today and give the platform for the attacking mids to do their thing. So I feel like, I agree with what you guys are saying, the full throttle approach, really attack Aston Villa, get at them, high intensity too. Against a team like Aston Villa, they are going to sit back and defend, like we know that. I'm surprised. I mean, have we seen their lineup? Are they play like a back 3 system or like a back 4 system? I haven't even seen what their lineup is. That's mad. But yeah, Aston Villa are going to come out to defend. So we need to get that early goal to stop them from their only game plan for the day. I mean, let's be serious. Aston Villa don't have any creativity in their attack. It's literally just Jack Grealish, do your thing. So if we can stop that, limit that Grealish effect on the team, I think we have a big opportunity here to get a really good win against them, score some goals, close down the goal difference too. And obviously, most importantly, take that confidence on a win today for that game against Man City on Thursday, because that will be a massive game. Ideally, we have to go for a win there as well. I mean, we could get away with it, but I think for the confidence in the team and the momentum, because I think momentum is going to be the most important thing for teams now leading to the end of this restart. Getting positive momentum could really help us out to secure possibly a third place spot, because I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I feel like Leicester City might fumble it and might not be too prepared, but I don't know. Daniel, I mean, what do you even think about that? Leicester City, did you feel that their game against Watford gave you like much confidence that, okay, like they're definitely a team like ahead of us right now?
I mean, we've got Watford, haven't we? I don't know if it's one of the last games of the season. I think it might actually be quite... Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game. Yeah, they gave a really difficult test, and especially now onto Nigel Pearson. They've really well set up, and I think they're going to give us a difficult test. They always seem to, unless of course, even actually the game earlier in the season as well was quite difficult. But I'm not entirely sure of Leicester. I think maybe there's a sense of nerves coming into the team now. Players knowing that the Champions League place is in sight. And they've basically been there a bit like Chelsea for pretty much most of the season, haven't they? And they've had a little nice cushion, but they've had a few poor results now. Vardy's goals, if they continue to dry up, I think that's going to be a big problem. I mean, he was outperforming his XG by a ridiculous rate in the first half of the season, wasn't he? He was banging them in left, right, and centre. If his goals dry up, and as you saw yesterday, it took a wonder goal from Ben Chilwell, who sure is is decent attacking wise, but if they can't get the creativity from Maddison, I think players like that, if they start to struggle, that could benefit Chelsea. Chelsea could catch Leicester, and you never know that there's that experience there element that I think, because they're still quite a young team, aren't they, under Brendan Rodgers, and Brendan Rodgers has had a track record in English football of having a few struggles at the end of seasons. So I think for them it could be a problem that could benefit Chelsea, and of course we're playing them after Man City in the FA Cup, so that's going to be an interesting game as well. Like most definitely.
But yeah, Joe, like, how are you feeling? Leicester City, do you think we can close that distance? Do you think they are gonna lose out in the race eventually? Like, what are you thinking?
I think they've got a fairly tough run, and I know sort of on paper our games are a little bit tough as well. But I'm looking sort of at Liverpool at Anfield, second to last game of the season. I'm not sure how motivated that they're going to be. It seems Klopp has sort of openly suggested that he might play a lot of their academy players going forward, which will obviously benefit us if they do that. Maybe that they're going for a points record or something like that at the same time. So I mean, it's a little bit difficult to predict, but I mean, I think the first sort of 3-4 games, I think, is really going to set the tone for the rest of this sort of mini season that we're seeing. And as much as I would like to say, it's sort of down to quality and all this sort of stuff, I genuinely think it's just going to be the team that has come back to the start of this, kind of mini season in the best shape. Is probably going to be the one for me that is going to do the best here. So looking at us today, I think probably if we go to Villa, play incredibly well, the team looks fit, they're pressing, they're motivated, we're on the front foot. I think that is going to be a really, really good sign sort of going into the rest of the season. So, I mean, looking at Leicester as well, I think the point about Vardy and sort of maybe some of his goals drying up, or maybe teams have just sort of realised that they shouldn't defend on the halfway line when Vardy is sort of playing against them for the first time in however many years he's been in the Premier League now. But I think that it's definitely kind of in our power to catch them. I don't look at Leicester as some sort of insane team that have just sort of completely overperformed their expectations. I think that they're definitely catchable. And I think also, if we go to them as well in that FA Cup game and beat them, it's just sort of putting further doubt into their heads. So obviously, there are teams looking at us in that fourth spot. I think obviously our kind of intention is to look up at Leicester and try to catch them and try to do our best possible to sort of narrow that gap. I think we can do it. I think the team, certainly if it's back to full strength or as close to full strength as what we can, I think it's still a really, really good squad. And I think the point I mentioned a little bit earlier, when it comes to this new kind of substitutes role as well, having a lot of these younger players and having those sort of options on the bench, I think for us, it's going to be a little bit of a game changer. I'm not sure how much clubs have explored just how radical that this is going to be to affect their game plan. But if you can bring on 5 20-year-olds in the last 15 minutes of a game to sort of just sit out and just tell them to run, all of a sudden you've got this, almost your entire team is fresh for sort of the second half. So I think that's going to be something that works in our favour. But looking at Leicester, I certainly think that they're catchable. If Vardy's not scoring, then as we've seen, it's taken a ridiculous goal from Chilwell to take the lead, and obviously they got called at the death. But I think it's there. It's possible. If we win today, we're 3 points behind them. The pressure of us breathing down the necks is something that they probably haven't experienced as much. And you'd have to say that certainly if we win today, and obviously again caveating that with if we win today, then I'd like to see sort of obviously what the situation is going to be. But I think it's going to be the next 3-4 games, Nini, that really dictates where we're going to finish.
Yeah, I think so too. We have a tough run of games coming up. Of course, if the game against Man City next week, then Leicester City, then West Ham, Watford, Crystal Palace, it could be fighting for survival. Who knows? Sheffield United. We do have a very difficult end to the season. So again, this is why momentum is even more important, because if we get a win, we can build that confidence and move forward to the next game. I don't know. I feel a bit optimistic now because Lampard finally has a full strength team to finally work with and use. So I think with these guys being fit too, because we saw during the winter periods, when the games are coming like thick and fast, like every 3 days, a lot of these guys were starting to become, physically weaker, starting to lose that momentum, lose that stamina. So I've always felt we've always been quite weak during those periods of reasons like this. It's always been stamina reasons, physique reasons. So I do think now that these guys are fully fit and had the time to get some rest for their bodies, that could potentially help them be even more intense with their football under Lampard's and hopefully get us through. But looking at Leicester City's fixtures right here, their running's quite easier. They've got Everton, they have Palace next, Arsenal. I mean, a really awful Arsenal team right now. It's actually funny seeing their decline. What did you guys think about the game yesterday? I don't know, I'm just laughing, but that was just like, that is classic Arsenal, isn't it? Like, that's classic Arsenal today. Wow.
The fall from grace. I mean, again, I'm not going to sort of dig them up too much because obviously karma comes around quickly in the Premier League. But I think if you were to tell me, like in the early 2000s, that this Arsenal team that was so incredible, Vieira, Petit, this fantastic team they had would go on to be a team that is looks comfortably mid-table. And I saw recently on Twitter, you've got Arsenal fans like harking back to the glory days of Mertesacker and Koscielny. Mertesacker and Koscielny is like two of the worst defenders Arsenal have had that I've seen actually physically
that
play.
Sums it up. That
that's
completely
it, really sums it up. It's like in 5 years' time, where, if Chelsea completely nosedive and we're harking back to the days when Danny Drinkwater and Bakayoko could have played in midfield, it's a little bit kind of the same sort of thing. But I mean that for me was the scariest thing, to see a fan base that has probably traditionally experienced success, like certainly late 90s, early 2000s, to see them now wishing for glory days when they still weren't winning anything. So it's it's weird. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I think Nini's probably similar to me in that we've kind of grown up with Arsenal fans throwing it in our face for sort of all of our childhood. So now it's a little bit nicer in terms of karma. But BB, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, particularly if they've got no money to spend in the window, because that squad is not going to get better through coaching, and I don't care who's coaching them either.
Yeah, exactly. But I think now for the final 10 minutes before we wrap things up, who do you feel are the players that you're expecting to see big things from today? Give me your top 3 players that you're hoping to see, provide something big for the team.
Daniel, do you want to go first?
Daniel,
I'll go first. Big things. I think Kovacic, Chelsea's for me player of the season, most consistent performer. I expect some big things from him today if he can get back to the form he had before he got injured. Mason Mount, I think. Of course, I said Pulisic earlier, but I'm talking about starting players. Yeah. Mason Mount obviously scored against Everton, scored a really good goal against Everton. And I think, as we've been talking about on today's stream, sort of the movement between him and Ruben. But I think Mount, I really hope he continues his good form, because that's the shame about lockdown. I think he really started to get back into some good form. And I think Olivier Giroud, I think you can never put past Olivier Giroud to get a goal. And not even get a goal, I think I have so much more admiration and respect. I think that the level of respect I have for Olivier Giroud as a professional this season, I think has gone up so much. So of course, respect him before, but just waiting for his moment this season and now wanting to commit his future to Chelsea for another year. It's great to have a player like that in the dressing room, even if he's not going to play as much next season. I think it's great to have him, and I wouldn't put it past him scoring a goal today or having some big influence, because I think as well another thing is holding up the ball, linking up play well with other players, and creating space for other players, which is something you need to do as a striker for a top club. So those are my 3 players I'd probably say.
Yeah, I think Giroud and Mings is going to be a pretty interesting battle today. Maybe that's why Lampard decided to go with Giroud's experience, so he could be that physical focal point to take the attention away from a Mings. I think those 3 players you listed are quite interesting. Joe, your 3 players that you feel you need to see something big from today.
I think the first one that comes to mind is Kante. We've heard kind of on and off over the last however many years he's been at the club. His best position is in holding midfield, and whether that's true or not is a debate for another day. But today he's almost certainly going to be the guy sitting in front of the back 4. So I'm very intrigued to see how he plays. I mean, his last outing that I can remember where he was the sole holding player was, I think, against Arsenal a long time ago, and it wasn't that spectacular. So I'm hoping that he actually plays well. I think his sort of defensive or the huge defensive improvement that he would have over Jorginho is worth the kind of maybe the sort of the diminishing the kind of the intricate build-up play that Jorginho probably brings better. I think he's the one I'm very obviously, he's also coming back from injuries and all this other stuff, so I'm interested to see how he copes. I agree with Daniel. I think Mason Mount is certainly one that I'm looking forward to. I mean, the lockdown came at a bad time for him, because I felt certainly when he was playing in that more drawn midfield role that we were starting to see the player. I still think the amount of disrespect and stuff he gets from people is crazy.
He's too much.
He's one of the most well-rounded footballers that we have at Chelsea in terms of his skill set. And I think
let me just ask you there. Sorry to interrupt, but why is it you think that Mason Mount has got like a pretty negative reputation from some parts of the fan base?
I think a little bit comes from, there are people that are very pro Lampard. I think that there's a little bit of a kind of a positive and negative side of things. So if you're positive or pro Lampard, you were typically anti Sarri. And I think that where Lampard maybe has Mount as one of his favourites in a similar way that Jorginho was a Sarri favourite, and they had kind of very similar relationships with certain parts of the fan base in terms of being kind of the fulcrum or the sort of the focal point of people's kind of ire. in terms of Mount, I think it's sometimes that when he is playing in attacking areas, you know, his decision making at times can be a bit debatable. But I mean, again, you know, when you actually look at how Chelsea play without him, even just his defensive work and his pressing and just his overall energy levels, Chelsea tend to play a lot worse without Mount on the pitch, and that's with Mount not having like a noticeably good game. I think just his energy and his sort of his ability to press his organisation is massively missed. So I think he's just the player that's associated with Lampard, and I think if you are still clinging on to the days of Maurizio Sarri and that style of football, then you know Mount is an easy target for you, because you know it's the same sort of way that Jorginho was treated. But I personally, you know, from a pure footballing standpoint, I don't really understand it. You know, I think, as I said, he's one of the most important players in the team. Even if he's not having a noticeably good game, he hasn't scored, hasn't had an assist, hasn't had key passes, whatever you want to choose. You know, his energy and just what he brings to the team from a defensive standpoint is enormous. You know, and I think that's certainly the way that Chelsea press. He's one of the leaders of that, whether that's in midfield or playing up front in any sort of number of positions. So yeah, it's a strange one for me, but I think he's such a well-rounded player, and you know, it's no real kind of surprise to me that he's become so integral to what Lampard's trying to do, because he is almost the sort of perfect type of modern midfielder. He's athletic, he's you know, he's skillful, he's got great touch, he can do all the neat and tidy build-up stuff. And I think as he gets older and matures more into that role, his decision making will improve. And you know, that really is the only gap between him being like a really good central midfielder and sort of where he is at the moment. It's just consistent decision making, but that comes with games and that comes with time.
Experience.
He's still a young
100%.
So,
I think another aspect this season has been that Lampard has used him in lots of different roles in the team, and I think a lot of times when players like that do play in different roles, I think especially like Premier League fans, they don't tend to view the player with a positive light. I think sometimes we forget that certain players are playing out of position to do something for the team, so we can't always hold that against them, because I'm sure the player doesn't want to play there, but he's doing it for the sake of the team. And I think maybe near the end of the season, you know, that the games against Everton and Liverpool, we started to see what Mason Mount was really about. You know, he had that freedom to receive the ball more in the middle, runners in front of him, etc., etc. And he was starting to, you know, run the game, bring that attacking threat. His set piece quality in the second half of the season got even better. So we was really starting to see Mason start to blossom and really, I think, get to terms with the Premier League a lot better too.
Yeah, 100%. I think the point about playing in different positions is interesting, because I think he often is asked to, I wouldn't say not play his natural game, but sort of just actually do a job for the team, because he's such a kind of well-rounded player and sort of very versatile. I mean, we've seen him play pretty much every position bar holding mid, I'd say, this season, and then obviously as a striker, but left wing, right wing he's popped up at. You know, we've seen him play both sort of positions in terms of the midfield roles that we're seeing play as a number 10. And at times, in terms of like a player, finding your own rhythm and tempo and your sort of consistency comes from playing in the same position for such a, you know, over a consistent period of time. If you are playing left wing and playing number 10 and playing right wing and then dropping back into midfield, you know, kind of in a 4, 5, 6 game stretch, it's difficult to get that sort of natural rhythm. And I find, again, you know, sort of the fact that he's so kind of selfless and willing to sort of do those sorts of, you know, jobs for Lampard, it should be a lot more well received in terms of the fact that he's willing to do that, rather than sort of criticising him for not having the sort of rhythm and consistency that comes from playing one position. So I think, for him now, it's just about finding a set position. Maybe you have, you know, kind of his position is one of these central midfield roles, and he can do a job as a number 10 or whatever. But I think it's just a consistent position for him now that he needs to play. And with that consistent position comes the decision making. You know, you're making different decisions in every single position of the pitch you play in. You can't build up those mental repetitions and that consistency and really kind of develop those kind of inner habits, you know, those sort of habits that you get from playing in certain areas of the pitch if you are literally on different areas of the pitch every single time you play a game. So it's like, you know, when you have a defender that can play full-back and centre-back, if they keep switching around, sure, they're a good player, but then they're not really getting the proper kind of reps or the habits to sort of be fantastic in one of his positions. Nathan Ake is a really good example of that at Chelsea, playing DM, playing centre-back, playing left-back, playing left wing-back, never really nailing down the position, although he's a good player. I just hope that Mount now can get a position, get consistency, and then obviously then his decision making and his maturing into a player that sort of is more focused on one role rather than kind of a jack of all trades.
Final question for all you guys, and this touches on your last point you made. Do you think, you know, with the potential potential arrival of, let's say, a Kai Havertz, how is a Mason Mount going to cope with a signing like that? Yeah, Joe, I'll let you. Yeah, sorry, I'll let you take that.
No, it's okay. I think he's going to compete. I mean, he's spent his entire life trying to be a Chelsea player. He's come in this season. He's played incredibly well. I don't think he's the type of player that's just going to shy away because Chelsea have spent big money on someone. And you know, I look at it similar when Michael Ballack came to Chelsea. You know, Frank Lampard said, "Okay, they've just brought in a guy who can play my position, so I need to step up," and that's going to be the case. I think, if anything, it potentially solidifies Mount more as a classical sort of central midfielder in either the left or the right centre mid spots, rather than having to force him playing as a 10 or wide. So it may impact him in terms of the number of minutes he plays because he's not playing sort of in those attacking positions as much. But in a way, it might help him because it will focus his position to being more of a midfielder. And that's personally why I see him having the most impact for Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Mason Mount will most likely end up as like a number 8 or play that some sort of attacking midfield role. But Daniel, your thoughts, man?
I fully agree. I think cast your mind back to last summer when Mason Mount arrived and he came back with Frank Lampard now as the manager. And at the time, I think he had the number 31 at the start of pre-season. And I think there was a lot of us who were doubtful whether he'd be a starter this season. I think we all knew he'd maybe get a chance on the Lampard. But then on the opening day at Old Trafford, he's playing. He had a lot of midfielders to fend through, you know, to get that chance, you know, and Chelsea's midfield is so stacked already. That's impressive. He's played, 42 games this season for a player of his age. We're talking about Joe, and when he was talking about sort of the abuse that Mount has got, I've wrote stuff about this, and I think it's ridiculous for the age he is and the amount of games he's played. And the fact, you know, he scored Lampard's first league goal at Derby. He scored Frank Lampard's first league goal at Chelsea. I think he's a very significant player for Frank Lampard. And I think, as he said on Friday in his press conference, Frank, he said, he's more referencing Werner and Tammy, but he said, high standards at Chelsea. And if you want to be here, you've got to compete for minutes. And he's saying that to every player. And I think Mount will back himself to stay in the team. So I fully expect Mount will still be a big player for Chelsea.
Exactly. And to end with the stream, you guys, starting with you, Daniel, your final score prediction for the game today.
I'm going to go over 2-0.
2-0. And goal scorers, Giroud and
Pulisic probably for me.
Pulisic too. Okay, nice. And Joe, your final score predictions.
I was going to go 2-0 as well, but just for the sake of being a bit different, 2-1. I will go with Loftus-Cheek, amazing return, capping a goal scoring performance back on his return. And let's go Mason Mount. Why not? Let's go for an academy treat.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to be going for a 3-1 win. The fact that I think we kept a clean sheet against Reading, but QPR, I don't understand how we conceded against them, to be honest. But I have a feeling that maybe our defense might be a little bit rusty. Christensen and Rudiger haven't really inspired me with too much confidence. But I think we have enough attacking threat today. So I do think Ruben's going to score. I just imagine him having a big impact today. I think the team are going to look even better playing under him. And I know I'm getting way too excited. I understand that already, you guys. But I do think that could be a possibility. And I think Giroud's going to get on the score sheet. And I think we might get a goal from a defender, from a set piece. So I'm going to have Rudiger on the scoreline too. But you guys, everyone who's watching the stream, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Today there is going to be big content on this channel. I'm going to be releasing the match review straight after the game, player ratings too, and another Chelsea community reaction video. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy. Like I said, big day for content, and it has to be a big day because I think we're all expecting a big win. So you guys, I don't know, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. I'm QnA FC. This is Blue Lions CV. I'll see you guys later with some more videos.